I understand that scoring 24 points on offense might not seem like a lot, especially in today's NFL, where we're used to teams having to score 30 plus points to be able to win games. But when you look at what the New York Jets have been able to do to start off this year, against the San Francisco 49ers losing 19 to 32, but offensively they were somewhat moving the ball before they had turnover issues. Last week against the Tennessee Titans, winning, they moved the ball pretty well, and they took advantage of some costly turnovers from the Tennessee Titans to win that game. Today, against the New England Patriots, all they had to do was just show that they were a much more talented team than New England was. Especially when New England lost Ramondre Stevenson early in the game, it was kind of over for New England. They kept it close up until Green Bay, up until New York started to pull away with it, obviously. But as a whole, the New York Jets dominated this game. They didn't just do it through the running game again, where they had Braylon Allen and Breece Hall both go over 50 yards. They had guys like Tyler Conklin show up with 93 yards. They had Alan Lazard and Mike Williams have effective games as secondary pass catchers. And they had Garrett Wilson, who didn't wow you with a statistical performance. But this team, offensively, overall, played the kind of game that they needed to play to win this game. And it wasn't going to be ultimately pretty. I mean, you're playing a Thursday night game against a division rival, a team that has been, a historic rival for the New York Jets and the New England Patriots. So, I'm not expecting to have multiple 100-yard receivers, a 100-yard rusher. I'm not expecting for Aaron Rodgers to throw for 400 yards, but he played a pretty perfect game. And I think this is kind of foreshadowing this year as a whole for the New York Jets and what Aaron Rodgers is going to bring to the New York Jets. And that's being the perfect quarterback for this team. Not just because of how talented he is or how incredible he is at just throwing a football, but his mannerisms, his ability to lead this offense, his moxie, everything about Aaron Rodgers is the perfect quarterback for this team. And honestly, they're a pretty perfectly built team. I already mentioned the pass catchers and their running backs, which I'm just going to say it now. I think they have the best running back duo in the NFL and one of the best running back duos in a long time between Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. I don't know who was expecting Braylon Allen to be a consistent pass catcher out of the backfield, but when you have two guys that you can consistently give 15 to 20 touches to and who are each going to be around 70 plus yards off of those touches, and you have Breece Hall, who has a touchdown, and Braylon Allen, who probably could have had one as well. That's a pretty perfect recipe offensively when you have a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers to not only just dominate on the running game, but this team combined for over 400 yards of offense between running the ball and passing the ball. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that their running game is pretty perfect. Defensively, they're pretty perfect as well. Will McDonald had multiple sacks again. Quinnen Williams had a sack. We don't have an interception from anybody, but that's okay. You're playing a quarterback that didn't want to throw an interception the whole game. 7 sacks as a total for this team, compared to New England only had 2. And the sacks that New England had, they were not very, they were not key sacks for New England. It always seemed like when New York really needed a stop defensively, in this game, they got it. Whether it was a sack, whether it was a pass deflection, whether it was just good coverage, or whether it was playing the run really well. And they did it without C.J. Mosley on the field, which I think is just as impressive considering the fact that he's their leader. He's their guy. They also lost Jermaine Johnson last week. So, you're already down 2 starters, and this is the kind of performance you have defensively. That's really, if you're a Jets fan, that's even more uplifting on the fact that you're a 2-1 football team who could be 3-0 if a few things had gone better in that San Francisco game. I will say, this team also could be 1-2 if they weren't playing a quarterback as, how should I say this, as idiotic as Will Levis can be at times. If they weren't playing Will Levis last week, there's a good chance they lose that game in Tennessee because they did not play great football. They played fine enough to win. They didn't play very good football last week, and they still won. And that's a sign of a pretty good team. When you don't play good, but you still win, that's a pretty good sign. But tonight they played great, and they won, which is an even better sign. So, I don't see why, if this is the New York Jets team that we're going to get for the rest of the year, and obviously, there's going to be changes made. Somebody's going to go down, obviously, and there's going to have to be a next man up. But if this is the team that we see for the rest of the year, I really don't see why. Not only is this the AFC East division winner, I don't see why this isn't possibly the AFC Conference Championship team and, a Super Bowl threat by the end of the year.